Hey guys, my name's Gavin. Welcome back to a brand new video. And before I start anything, I'm just gonna get it out of the way. I got lined up. The hair, it's gone. I don't know what you guys are gonna comment about anymore. I really don't. You're gonna have to think of something new. There's no long hair anymore. I'm a boy again. Today I'm gonna be showing you guys how I made this tropical loop. It gives me like a lot of dancehall vibes. So follow me on Instagram if you haven't already at gavinhadley_. As soon as I get to 600 followers on there, I'm gonna be dropping a new loop kit with my friend Miles, who edits my videos. And without further ado, let's get into things. So I'm gonna try to make this pretty simple for all of you. Just gonna get in here, explain the process. This is a pretty simple loop. I've been trying to do different things when I've been making my loops lately, really like simplify stuff. We started basically with this chord progression. So I'm gonna play it out and I'm gonna explain how I made it. And we're at 90 BPM. I just thought I'd throw that out there. Just some important stuff, so you can put like those Latin drums on it if you wish. So yeah, let's play this. Right, so I'm using more full sounding chords. Instead of just doing traditional triads, we also have another note up higher. It's really just a simple chord progression, nothing too much to explain about it. You guys can just take it for what it is, look at it right here. But I did want to add a little bit more variation, so it is the same progression, but instead I put the third up, or the B, like the middle note in the triad, up an octave right here, just to switch it up. It acts as like a little ear candy, something you can do to make your melodies a little bit different sounding without really having to do too much note wise or note placing in the piano roll. So after that, I guess I'll show you what I put on it effect wise. So I EQ'd out some of the lows. This is what it sounds like without that. I'll take off all the effects, so it sounds a lot different, as you can tell. Like, if you know who John Bellion is, I don't know if you do. If you're watching this video, you might know who John Bellion is. It really reminds me of like a sound that he would use. So I EQ'd out some of the lows. I put crystallizer on it. I use this muffled up octave thing. I really like the way that sounds. You'll hear it. It really like livens up the sound, gives it like a nice top end. And now here is RC20. Pretty standard, just a little bit of noise, a little bit of distortion and space, and I widened it a bit. Now we have just delay. A delay is something that's really useful if you're just trying to add like another whole element to like a chord progression or a melody. Just make sure you don't overdo it. I feel like you can get away with a little bit more delay on something like a chord progression because there's like less stuff going on. But if you're doing like some crazy top line, I would maybe shy away from it because that's like a lot of stuff going on at the same time. But yeah, we did 2 steps. I changed the mode to ping pong, and then I put the volume down a little bit, and this is what it sounds like again. Alright, so after that we can move on to the next sound, like a little counter melody. As you can see, it's really simple. Alright, and I'd love to give like a crazy explanation as to how I made this, but really it all comes down to using your ear and like trying to get something that meshes in well with the chord progression. And I'm really trying to like keep my loops simple now. I know I've made quite a few videos on this channel where I've just been doing some crazy stuff, and really like the biggest tip I would give to producers right now is just keep it simple, but keep it full at the same time. Like, use a bunch of different sounds, but make sure all those sounds like fit into their own place and they don't take up too much room at like the same points. So you'll see what I mean the more the longer this video goes on once I get down to these sounds. But yes, this is that sound again. In effects, I put the up an octave thing again, a little RC20. I just widened it a little bit, boosted the gain on it, and then I used the separation knob inside of the reverb, and I boosted the wet and messed with those knobs a little bit. But after that, we have a vocal here. So this was done inside of a camper, which just goes to show that you can really do this stuff whenever. Vocals do not need to be something that's like a big process. You can just go down and lay one down whenever you want. So yeah, this is what it sounds like. So I'm gonna show you guys how I did that. So I just took out a lot of the high and low ends to really make it sound like it's underwater. I'll play you what it sounds like dry first. So you can actually hear my friend Jacob. He was messing with markers and stuff in the background. You can hear them like hitting the table. What I do when I do this is I just like extend the pattern out a bunch, and then I just like sing random things into the microphone, and then I like chop it up into a way that I like. And this is just reversed and then up an octave, and it gives it that really cool, actually it kind of sounds like a bug, to be honest, before you put effects on it, but it sounds really cool after the effects are added. It doesn't have to be a perfect chop. You can hear this one come in kind of abruptly, but the reverb and then the EQing saves that. So this already does so much already, you can tell, like. Then we added a bunch of reverb, just douse it in reverb. Really widens up the sound. The muffled up octave thing again, I use that so much. I feel like it's so good, especially for these type of loops. And then I added another reverb, just separating it a little bit more. I felt like it just did it a tiny bit more. That's the vocal. Now I did something really cool. I actually went in here for this chord progression and did Alt Y to reverse it. That just like flips around the order. So like this is the end over here, but it just flips over. And then I exported this out and then reversed it again, so it's back to its original order, except all of the chords have like a reverse sound to them when you reverse it, once you have it as an audio clip. So I'll show you what this sounds like. And I had a bunch of effects to it. And I really wanted to tuck it in the background, so it's kind of hard to hear, because it can be a little much if you just let everything go at the normal volume. So I EQ'd out some of the high ends, what it sounds like before I did that. It does sound good like that, but I just wanted to tuck it in the background a little bit more. The muffled up octave again, and then reverb. This is what it sounds like with everything else. Then I have this sound. This is like really inspired by artists like John Bellion and Eden, and like maybe even like AJR. This like just hit right at the beginning, and it just really reminded me of that kind of stuff. So I'll show you what it sounded like dry. I like the way that sounds, but it's a little harsh, so that's why I just kind of tucked it in the background a little bit more, just with EQing and then reverb. So we have all that. Now we have this one last melody. So it's a flute, so I just put port on and then I mess with the slide a little bit. That's gonna give it like a wobbly kind of sound. This is what that sounds like. Alright, so you can see that these parts are basically the same, except I messed with the notes right around here. I brought it down from here instead of going up. And I guess another tip I could make for melodies is just come up with some like sequence of notes. I was watching a Prod by Jack video the other day, and he gave a tip of just like coming up with like a sequence of notes. And I guess if you think about it, that's what I do, and that's what like all producers really do. You have to have like a repetitive sequence of notes. It's not like overly repetitive to the point where it's annoying. This is like my sequence of notes right here, and it really doesn't have to be anything crazy, just going up and down the scale. Really, I used to talk about that all the time when I made my videos a few months ago, just really going up and down the scale, just experimenting with notes. And overall, like the best tip I can give again is just to practice, and it'll get better. I'm gonna make a video later on this week reacting to my old beats and stuff, just to show you guys how much things can get better if you just keep doing it. This is what that sounds like. I put cassette on it. Cassette has been kind of acting up lately. So I put cassette on it, and then I just EQ'd it kind of like a vocal, and then I put reverb on it. I really treated this like a vocal, so it sounds like raw. So it sounds like a flute. Like, you guys probably wouldn't have guessed it sounded like that, but now with everything on, it sounds a little bit, still like a flute, but just a little bit softer. But yeah, that's basically everything. Play it all again. Alright, so then I rendered it out, but I'm doing a little bit different of a render sequence than I normally do. I'm giving everything enough time for the reverb to drain out. It makes it also easier, just so like stuff doesn't interfere when you're trying to chop something up, and also just easier for producers to see where to chop things. And it also saves you the time, from my old technique at least, having to export everything out to an audio clip before you render it out to one final audio clip. Like, you can just put the midis in here if you want to. Sometimes I don't do that, but yeah, I don't know. There's also one more sound here, just a little bass. I forgot to mention that. Just following the root notes and just hitting pretty normally. And I put that in the second part. I didn't want to put it in the first part, just because, I don't know, I wanted to just give the people a little bit more options when they're using the loops, because not everyone's going to want to have that bass in, and it might be like even a little off-putting to some people, at least in my opinion. That's why I put it the second part, just to give people a little bit more of an option. So yeah, just spacing everything out, giving like 4 bars of room, just let the reverb drain out on everything. So then we exported it out to a final audio. I mess around with pitch changes always. For this one, I decided to leave it how it was, because sometimes when you pitch stuff up and down, it kind of just gets rid of the punchiness of the overall sample. Okay, so I open up an EQ. This is what it sounds like, just like with no EQ on. just a normal EQ too, not the fruity parametric EQ too. Open up a normal one, and I mess with these knobs a bunch. So again, without anything, and then with. So when I do this, I'm really trying to get my loop sound a little bit more crispy. You can see I really boosted the high ends like all the way up, and like the mid highs and all of those frequencies really got boosted, and I kind of took out a little bit of the low end. That was largely because of the bass. I wanted the bass to sound a little bit less present, have a little bit less low end in the bass. But yeah, I just mess around with these, and if you adjust these two in specific, that's normally where a lot of those like vinyl-y sounds that come out, and when you're using like a cassette plugin, that's where a lot of those come out. So you can kind of like mimic a cassette sound when you mess with those. So yeah, definitely something to think about when you're making your loops. Again, it's a stock plugin, anyone can do that. But yeah, that's basically it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys were able to learn something today. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.